Welcome to the Diversity Scholarships Foundation's Profiles in the Law. I'm your host, Jesse Reyes, who I'm president of the Diversity Scholarship Foundation and also a justice on the Illinois Appellate Court. As we mentioned in the past, we're having a series of conversations with some prominent members of our legal profession. And I am happy to have someone here who I've seen rise within the legal profession and the community at large and to become a star in our community, and that's Sonni Choi Williams, who is the current president of the Illinois State Bar Association. Welcome, Sonni.
Thank you, Jesse Reyes, Justice Reyes, for allowing me to be interviewed by you. I've heard many great comments about this, and you are doing a phenomenal job.
Oh, well, thank you so much, and thank you for being with us. So before we talk about the ISBA, the Illinois State Bar Association, and you becoming a lawyer, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
So I am an immigrant. I wasn't born here. I was born in Seoul, South Korea. And in 1977, when I was 8 years old, my parents took the risk of going to a country where they barely spoke a word of English, didn't know anyone, didn't have a job lined up, and took all that risk because they wanted to give the opportunity to their children something that they didn't have. And they, obviously wanted us to be successful and have the American dream. But in order to do that, they had to leave Korea because it didn't really provide a lot of opportunity especially for a woman.
So you mentioned that your parents and your siblings. So how many brothers or sisters do you have?
I have an older brother, Kwan, and a younger sister, Yu Kyung.
And when you and your parents arrived to this country, did you come to Chicago directly from Korea, or?
I kind of wish I did, but unfortunately, or fortunately, we ended up in Iowa because my aunt married a soldier who was a U.S. soldier who was, assigned to Seoul, South Korea, and she ended up, marrying him, and he lived in Iowa. And, we all know that that's the lottery. You win the lottery, the golden ticket to the
Sure.
United States. Her marriage to this, American citizen gave us the ability to, get a visa, move here, and then, after years of living in the United States, we became citizens.
Okay. And so did you grow up in Iowa?
Yes, I did. I went to first grade through high school, and I graduated in Denison High School, and I went to University of Iowa, where I met my husband as a freshman, and he was a sophomore. But growing up in Iowa is a little bit hard, for someone who looks like me. We ended up in a small town, and so we were the only minority family, and being such in the late 70s, early 80s, we weren't, we were looked as foreigners.
Sure.
Things that you hear today, that, to go back to your country, why are you taking up someone else's job? And, you have to persevere. You have to go through all those comments and be able to, work hard, and that's your way out of poverty in that situation.
Sure. So you mentioned you went to the University of Iowa. What inspired you to want to become a lawyer?
Yeah, so when I went to University of Iowa, my original undergraduate degree, my goal was to go into research. So I had a major of, it was biology major, thinking that I was going to research, and I ended up, it wasn't the right field. I loved to read. I loved reading history, and I ended up switching to a history major. And as I was graduating, and getting a degree, my parents at that time owned a convenience store in Lexington, Kentucky. They moved from Iowa to Lexington, Kentucky after I graduated high school. Mm-hmm. And they were a business owner, and they were looking for an attorney to help them out. And I went with them to meet with this attorney, and I just had this sense of this attorney didn't, really connect with them. Sure. And, then when I was looking at other attorneys, they didn't look like me. Sure. And so I saw how there was this gap of representation in the legal profession. And, and I thought, well, that's some unmet need. I could serve the community. I could do something by making a difference by just being an attorney.
Sure.
So I ended up going to Northern Illinois University in DeKalb, a College of Law, and there I was able to get a great education, small class, and ended up graduating there. That was my road to law school because of noticing that we didn't have enough lawyers who look like me.
Sure. And, it's a well-kept secret, Northern Illinois University School of Law.
Yes.
Go
Go Huskies, by the way, Huskies, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know about it, but it's a great school, and it's produced some very talented lawyers and judges, and you're one example of outstanding member of coming from that school. So then after you went to law school, what did you decide maybe to pursue?
Well, it's very interesting because this is what I tell you, like young students, law students, that don't shut yourself, on opening up the possibility of doing something that you didn't think you were going to do.
Yeah,
and so when I was going to law school, I interned with a family law attorney, and I thought, oh, I'm going to be a family law attorney. And then my last year of law school, I was, what we call a 7-Eleven intern, where you could go and, actually handle a case in the courtroom, traffic cases. And I thought, oh, I'm going to be a prosecutor. And after doing that, I ended up working for my father-in-law in a small general practice office in Tazewell County in East Peoria. And after kind of realizing that private practice wasn't my calling, I applied to be an assistant public defender, and I was briefly an assistant public defender representing juveniles in juvenile delinquency, abuse cases, and lo and behold, being active in the Bar Association, the chair of the Young Lawyers Committee in Peoria County, told me at a meeting, Sonni, there's an opening at the city of Peoria. You should apply. And so I applied thinking I would never do this. I didn't really care for zoning cases in law school. And so I didn't think about it, but I applied at her urging, and I ended up getting the job. I worked for the city of Peoria for 18 years. I was able to get such a wide variety of practice area. I did prosecution, quasi-criminal prosecution with ordinance prosecution. I also handled, tort defense cases, slip and falls. People think that, a municipality has money and they end up suing the city. I defended those cases. I also, practiced in federal court. I defended our police officers or the city being sued on, these constitutional violation cases, alleging that they were unlawfully arrested or excessive use of force was used, and I defended those cases. So I had a great opportunity to work for the city of Peoria as a municipal attorney, but I would have never thought that I would do that, in law school.
Sure. You raised some very good points. I know that when I started law school, I wanted to do wills, estates, and trusts. And then I took trial ed, and I said, I know what I want to be. I want to be a trial lawyer. Don't you commit yourself. Explore. You may be coming into particularly law school, with a certain idea and a certain concept, right? And then you realize as you're progressing through your classes that you want to switch, and that's totally fine. Some people even switch after they come out of law school when they start, like you mentioned. You started out, doing family law, and then you start doing some other type of work, and now you're doing what you're doing today, which is great.
Yeah.
And the networking you mentioned about your friends in the Bar Association mentioning to you. And I think that's one essential ingredient that a lot of people don't realize about bar associations is that it's a great networking vehicle for many lawyers and for judges. You learn about opportunities. You learn about things that are going on. Those are some very good points. That you've raised with regards to your life. But you also were the first in many regards. And I wonder if you could mention a little bit about that in terms of what it was like being the first.
Yeah. So I'm very proud to say that I'm the first woman lawyer of color to lead the Illinois State Bar Association, which is the largest volunteer organization of attorneys in Illinois. We have close to, 28,000 members. And in its 148-year history, I'm leading the Illinois State Bar as the first woman lawyer of color, first Asian American, first Korean American. And this, means a lot to me, but it means far more to the future generation of the Illinois State Bar leaders. And it wasn't easy to, break that ceiling, but I did it at the, support of so many people who believed in me and thought that I could make a difference. And I was fortunate to be working, and which, my current job is with the city of Lockport in Will County. And I was fortunate enough to have very supportive, City Administrator Ben Benson, our Mayor Stephen Stride, and the members of the City Council. And they were so supportive in my decision to run for the Illinois State Bar President. And I did that 3 years ago. I won in a contested election, and I didn't do it for myself. I did it for so many people who, look like me and have the ability to see something that is a possibility instead of waiting another, 15, 20, or maybe perhaps 50 years before someone would break that ceiling.
Now, as far as you are aware, are there any other, American, Korean, or Korean American bar presidents statewide?
Oh, statewide, yes. I know that, they're Asian American president of State Bar, like Colorado right now. The president of the Colorado Bar, she's Asian American. I don't know of any Korean American directly. I mean, it's very rare. I mean, to say that. And we're talking about it's 2024.
Sure,
so
right, yes.
It's very rare to see. And I hope to see many more in the future.
Yeah, and we want to commend you because I know that the travel to the top where you're at now, especially in a statewide organization like the Illinois State Bar Association, is not easy. I'm sure you encountered a lot of obstacles along the way,
Yes.
But yet you were able to persevere and now to become the first Asian American in the Illinois State Bar Association serving as president, and that's fantastic. So can you tell our viewers a little bit about what you have been doing so far as president of the ISBA and what you plan on doing here on after?
Yes. So one of the first things that I mentioned when I spoke at my first president's report to the Assembly, the governing body of the Illinois State Bar, I told them that I wanted to reach out to all the minority bar association. We call them the affinity bars, the Hispanic lawyers group, the Filipino lawyers, the advocates. That's the Polish American association. Of course, we also have the Asian American bar and the Korean American bar, and I wanted to have the Illinois State Bar be the central resource for them to post their meetings. I wanted to support any events that they had upcoming because, oftentimes, minority groups tend to, kind of operate in their own silos. And I wanted to break down that silo because, the ultimate goal is adding diversity to the profession, adding diversity to the bar, association leadership. In order to do that, we have to support each other. Mm-hmm. So I convened a summit of all the minority bar association earlier this, I believe in July, and I wanted to reach out to them and make sure that if there was anything that the Illinois State Bar could help, we will be doing that. And in fact, this upcoming Thursday, the Illinois State Bar is doing a Bar Leadership Institute, a mini one, at the Chicago Regional Office of the Illinois State Bar. This will be a training program that will be facilitated by an American Bar Association professional facilitator and trainer, and she will, help out with the Bar Association leaders to get ideas on fundraising, how to promote events, how to help each other, and how to, increase their bar association success. And this is all being done and provided for free for the Minority Affinity Bar Association, because I want everyone to be united. We always talk about diversity and diversity on representation,
Right.
but the diverse minorities should unite, because ultimately our goal is to increase and better the profession by having more diverse attorneys, and we need to do that by supporting each other. So that would be during the mid-year meeting this Thursday.
Okay, and that's great, because many of the, as you call them, affinity bars, they're mom and pop operations, and they don't have paid staff, they don't have experts in the area to help them. So this at least will provide them some information as how to maybe help grow their associations. So thank you so much for doing that. And so what are your plans for the rest of your year? You have a big meeting coming up also, right?
Yes. This Friday, the Illinois State Bar is convening its assembly, and that's made up of 250 members representing the different geographical areas in the state of Illinois. And we are convening our mid-year meeting. We are also providing CLE, and some of the CLE has to do with how to make a judicial decision and what goes behind making a judicial decision. And I'm sure you're that's your job, being a justice on the First District Appellate Court. And so that's one of the CLE that the Illinois State Bar is offering in conjunction and in joint effort with the Illinois Judges Association. And so we are convening that at the JW Marriott. It's a two-day mid-year meeting with the Judges Association and also the Illinois State Bar. So that's this upcoming, week. And then, in April, we are well on our way to our what's called the Illinois State Bar President's Trip, and my President's Trip is to Seoul, South Korea, my home birthplace. So we will have that. The trip to Korea from April 8th through the 14th. So it's not too late to, register for that trip. You could register at ISBA.org if you are available, and this is an opportunity of lifetime. You get to tour the Supreme Court of Korea, and there would be, tours of great historic landmarks, palaces in the middle of Seoul, and you will be able to enjoy great Korean food, Korean culture, K-pop. And so, when do you get the opportunity to have a fully guided tour of Korea? So I'm looking forward to that in April.
So if people wanted to join you on your trip or your journey to South Korea, do they have to be members of the Illinois State Bar Association?
No, it is open to everyone. So even if you're not a member of the Illinois State Bar, or if you're not an attorney, you can still register and go to the the President's Trip. It's a great opportunity to see such a non-Western way of looking at Seoul, South Korea, and it's a beautiful country.
Yeah. And you also have within the Illinois State Bar Association a Young Lawyers section, correct?
Yes.
Can you tell our viewers a little bit about the Young Lawyers section?
Yes. So if you are admitted to the practice in the state of Illinois, you are automatically a member of the Illinois State Bar. And we have what's called a Young Lawyers Division for anyone who's under 37 years of age, or someone who's practiced less than 10 years. This is a great group of attorneys, starting out their practice, and they want to be able to, get into the, being more active in the Illinois State Bar. And they have great events. They have, usually they'll have some type of fundraising event on Thursday during the mid-year meeting, but they're going to have an informal gathering. But that's our future. That's the future of our profession is, the new attorneys, coming out and practicing, and they get to learn from the very best, by being active members of the Illinois State Bar. The ISBA mid-year meeting, we will have, the open reception on Thursday from 5:30 to 7:30 at the JW Marriott. And this is the opportunity where you get to mingle and hobnob with justices of the First District Appellate Court or the Supreme Court or many judges. So if you're a young attorney and you want to go out and network, it's a great opportunity to meet lawyers and judges.
Yeah, I'm a former member of the Young Lawyers section of the ISBA, and I did enjoy my time there. It was, in fact, one of my very first meetings was down in St. Louis. We traveled down to St. Louis at the exact same, although it's different now, but the exact same location where you had your installation.
Yes.
In St. Louis, and so it was fascinating. It's fascinating also from the standpoint is you get to meet other people from around the state to talk to them about various issues, and so it's a great time, and and you're right, it's a great networking tool, and also you learn a lot. How to be a lawyer, and how to conduct yourself professionally, and so on and so forth through the the CLAs pertaining to ethics and professionalism.
Yes.
So it's definitely great for young people. It's a great stepping stone, but you'll take members at any age, right?
Yes. Oh yes, all those events. And part of the ability to have the Young Lawyers Division is to have the opportunity to mingle with
Sure.
the more seasoned attorneys, the ones who've been in and out of the courtrooms for years. And so, if there's any events that the YLD, the Young Lawyers Division, if they plan it, anyone is welcome. Any age attorney or
Right.
judges are welcome.
Right. No, absolutely. And I'm still involved in the Illinois State Bar Association, participating in a lot of the continuing legal education programs, because I think it's important to also stay on top of the law, and but then also again to listen to others in terms of their perspectives. Sometimes in Chicago, we look at everything in terms of the eyes of being a Chicagoan, right, or someone in Cook County. But then when you talk to someone who's from, like, say, Mount Vernon, downstate Illinois, you see things in a different perspective. And I think that's one of the unique things about the Illinois State Bar Association.
Yeah, and I totally agree on that, because I would have never been able to, get my job that I have in Lockport in Will County, coming from Peoria, if it wasn't for the people that I met through the Illinois State Bar. Because when you're practicing and you're starting out as a young lawyer, you don't think in the future that I may, 10, 15 years down the line, end up getting a job somewhere else, or wanting or desiring to get a job elsewhere. And when, the friends, the connections that I, was able to make at the Illinois State Bar events, including the ones in St. Louis, I was able to meet, just great people like Judge Vince Cornelius from Joliet, and past
Who's also a past president.
Yeah, past president of the Illinois State Bar, first attorney of color to be the president, and so the Illinois State Bar represents attorneys throughout the whole entire state. So it gives the opportunity of young lawyers to think outside of their practice area and outside of their geographic area.
So, you're first generation, you're the product of immigrant parents, and you had to persevere in terms of your education. Is there anything you could share with our young viewers who are watching in terms of encouraging them to go on to higher education and maybe, profession one day?
Yes. And I tell this to a room full of, law students when I go back to NIU at the orientation. I tell them, don't doubt yourself. Don't say, don't doubt that you shouldn't be in the room, because you got there through hard work and perseverance. And when you make a mistake, just dust off and get back on your feet and try again, because, oftentimes good news doesn't happen without some bad news. And, I didn't get my first job when I interviewed. And so you have to stick to it, perseverance, work hard, but also realize that as an attorney, you could do so much good for so many people, people who need you, especially in your community.
Well, I want to thank you for being with us today. It was indeed a pleasure. And again, our guest today was Sonni Choi Williams, current president of the Illinois State Bar Association. And I was your host, Jesse Reyes, and thank you again for watching the Diversity Scholarship Foundation's Profiles in the Law.
Thank you.